Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday afternoon, and welcome to this Specialist Trading educational presentation. Now, I can't tell you how many emails I get by prospective students who say, Steve, there's nothing wrong with my strategy, or there's nothing wrong with the market I trade. It's just that so many times I miss these big moves. Either I get in too late, or I'm scared because it's already had its move. Maybe I forgot about the stock or the future or the currency pair, and I walked away from watching it, and then the next thing I know, it's taken off. So my strategy or my method doesn't have a way to get back in, or it doesn't have a way to actually generate signals. Well, today I'm going to share with you a great pattern recognition technique that will really alleviate that problem and show you how not to miss these big moves with the PTS XT indicator. This is a really great tool we have. You'll only find this at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies. There are many imitators. We've already seen this. I guess that's the highest form of flattery, because we've already seen a number of websites already starting to copy and manufacture their own type of extreme trend indicator. But this is the original, and we developed it, myself and Pro Trader Strategies, really with so many different ways to trade it. For example, let's look at this chart right here. Oh, I'm sorry, before we do, the theme of today is overthinking. This is one of the first things my mentor said to me. They said, Steve, overthinking is what kills your trading. And if you think of it, so many times you'll see a stock or some market you're interested in purchasing, and you'll say to yourself, okay, well, as soon as this happens, I'm going to buy it. But this has to happen, and then this has to happen, and then these indicators have to all line up, and then the earnings have to come out, and then this news has to come out, and that will get me into this. All right, there's just too many requirements met in order for you to generate a signal. I know this from firsthand because I used to trade this way. When I first started trading, I had so many rules and requirements, I overthought everything. So even though we may think that that's what's going to make us a better trader, it's really standing in our way for success. So please remember this, and you'll see how simple it is in today's presentation, because overthinking is really not something that helps you, but it's what kills your trading. So let me share with you now this chart that is extremely simple, and the process is really easy on our platform. For example, this indicator will generate a yellow buy block around a bar that is deemed to have the high probability for having an extreme up move. Now, most of the time, traders will forget about it, and they'll say, wow, okay, I missed that, and gosh, now it's too late to get back in. Well, with this pattern recognition method today, I'm going to share with you, you actually could have gotten in right here, okay? So you don't have to miss these big moves after all. Even though you may not get in the beginning, either buying or selling, I'll show you how you can actually get back in. Remember, all of this is done with simplicity and ease on the PTS Primo Charting platform, the educational platform that identifies these extreme trends in advance. So welcome once again. My name is Stephen Primo, President and Founder of Specialist Trading. If you haven't found out already, we are first and foremost an educational company. This means that our only goal is simply to educate you. Now, when I first started trading 44 years ago, I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was a specialist, and a specialist is someone who made markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So even though at that time, which was 50 so years ago, but what was thought to be really high tech, even though I had this advanced information in my hands, I still struggled tremendously, okay? And probably because, as I said earlier, I was overthinking. The main thing that was missing in my trading was education. That's what was missing, because even though I had gone and read all the books and gone to the seminars and listened to all the news and gotten the newsletters, I was still struggling, because all of these things are based on inconsistencies. They're all based on conventional wisdom, which really holds no high regard for consistency. So once my mentors showed me what was consistent, and more importantly, what wasn't, what to discard, that's when my trading started to become successful. So this is what I'm trying to instill in all of you, a matter of consistency by really focusing on the educating you with things that work. So that's what Specialist Trading does, first and foremost, educating traders around the world. I'm happy to say we educate traders in over 115 countries and in virtually every state in the United States. Now, before we begin today's presentation, as always, we have to first show you this. It's required by law, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to share with you a lot of performance results using this particular technique, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember that since we are first and foremost an educational company, all of the examples I'm about to share with you are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, another way to get education from us, where you don't have to wait each week for a free webinar, is to visit our Twitter page. Please feel free to follow us by copying down our handle right there. Every day I post different information, little bits of financial wisdom to explanations on why some of our strategies generated signals. Great free education on a daily basis. So please, if you want more trading education and more idea on what we do here at Specialist Trading, please follow us on Twitter. Now remember, as I often state, and I have to keep on saying this because so many people really take this in terms of the way other people teach, but if you've come here today thinking that I'm going to tell you what the market's going to do next week, if it's going to go up or going to go down, or if you come here today thinking what I think is going to happen in Bitcoin or what's going to happen in a certain stock, or if I'm going to tell you what the best time frame is to trade, you've come to the wrong place because that's entirely opposite of what we do here. You see, a mentor never predicts or tells you what's going to happen. He teaches you so that you can make your own decision. In my 44 years of trading, the only traders that are still trading, that are still consistent, are the ones that make their own trading decisions. They don't go to chat rooms, they don't watch TV and listen to hear what the people on TV are predicting for the next day or the next week. They don't subscribe to chat rooms or trading rooms. They don't look at earnings or economic indicators. They have a simple plan that is based on facts, and it's based on just, things that are consistent, and that's all they follow. And that's what I'm trying to instill in all of you. You see, my goal as your educator is not to trade for you. It's to teach you how to trade with the Specialist Edge. The same edge that sustained me for over 4 decades, and hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. All right, now I want you to ask me as many questions. I have a lot of slides to share with you teaching you this simple technique, but please remember that if we stop at every slide to ask a question, we'll be here way too long. I don't want to take all of your Wednesday up, so if you have a question, please remember it or write it down. I promise I will get to it at the very end of class today, okay? The only question I will answer is the most common one, and that is this being recorded? Sure it is. We record all our webinars, so you can watch them at your own leisure. We'll send each and every one of you a link to this recording at the end of today's class. So if you didn't get something or you didn't understand something, you'll be able to watch this as often as you like. Okay, so remember, we have a good crowd. If you happen to have a question, please wait till the end and I'll get to each and every one of them. Okay, well, let's begin today's educational presentation. And the main tool we're going to be talking about today is the PTS XT. That's our Extreme Trend Indicator. Remember, you've probably seen a lot of these imitations all over the internet, different websites, copying exactly the way this is displayed. But remember, this was first developed here at Pro Trader Strategies, and we are the originator of this, and we feel it's the best because it really takes one thing into account. It listens to the market. It's not based on anything else other than listening to what the market is doing by looking at a number of tools and their relationship to one another. So here's the simplicity of using this. Let's look at an older chart here of FCX, that's Freeport McMillan. This is a weekly chart now. Now let's say you're interested in this, okay? So by using the PTS XT, look at the simplicity it has on our platform. You simply have to click on the green strategy tab and click on, in the drop-down menu, highlighted signal. This will tell you or not whether there's a high probability for an extreme trend to take place, either to the upside or to the downside. Now, the way it does this is by painting a yellow buy block around where it feels it's going to be an up move, or a red sell block around where it feels it's going to be a downward move. Now, in this instance, just a year ago, this predicted an upward move on the weekly chart in Freeport McMillan, okay? So you're saying to yourself, well, you know what? I don't feel very good about the market, or I want to kind of get my finances in shape here. I'll just kind of wait to see what happens. And then one way or another, it gets away from you, all right? As long as there is a yellow block painted around these bars, the tool is telling you that you're still remaining in an extreme uptrend. But at this point, most traders would say, wow, I forgot all about this. I went on vacation, or I stopped looking, I got all excited about something else, and I missed this one, okay? Gosh, it's gained just about 70, 80%, and I can't buy it up here. So you start rationalizing to yourself, right? First thing you do, you say, well, it's going to come down. I mean, if I bought it right here, I guarantee it would go straight down. And the next week, it actually does. So you feel justified. You feel, I'm right not to buy this thing. It's probably going to come all the way back down. I just missed it. I'll chalk it up to something I should have done, but at least I was right, had the right idea. But in all actuality, you haven't missed anything, because what's happening right now is this technique I'm going to teach you that is generating a buy signal. All right, here's what you want to do. When you are in a yellow buy block, you want to look at all the bars in that block and look at their lows, okay? That's the low of the wick, or the very extreme low. We're not talking about the open or the close. We're talking about the very extreme low. And if you find that there is a low and the next bar closes below that low, all right, let's take this example here. We have a low here and we close below that low. Well, that is a buy setup using this technique. But the only qualification is you have to still remain in this yellow block. Now, if you see, if we look at all the lows, there wasn't one bar that closed below it, except right here. That is your buy setup. Now, you don't have to take this trade or not. This is not a system where it's been back tested 20 years and there's a 95% success rate. You never lose. We don't believe in that. These are just techniques we share with you for you to decide. But they're high probability. If you think this is too high to buy, well, you may be right, but the odds are you may be wrong, because look what happened. Stock went up 16 more points after that. So ask yourself, did you miss that trade? No, it was still okay to get back in. Why? Because the tool, the PTS Extreme Trend indicator, was saying it's still in an extreme uptrend. Until the bars go out of that yellow block, most likely it's going to continue higher. Now, it's not a predictive tool. It doesn't tell you how high or how low. Let's look at this example in the spiders. Now, this is going back to last year. Remember February 2020, before the market fell out of bed? Well, no one really knew what was going on with the virus then. In fact, we were just hearing some news coming out of China, but nobody really had any idea how risky this was or what the dangers were. But look at the PTS XT. If you click that on and clicked on highlighted signal, mid to end of February, it was already telling you there's a high probability that we're in extreme downtrend. It painted a red cell block around the bar. Now, let's say to yourself, you're saying, well, sure, I've seen this before. It goes down for 1 or 2 days and then it goes right back up. I'm not going to take advantage of this. Or maybe it's just, you just don't feel like selling the spiders. That's the ETF that represents the S&P index. Well, look what happened. The next 4 days, it went down rather strongly. That's a lot for the spiders, because that represents hundreds, if not thousands of points in the index. But you say to yourself, that's gone way too low. I can't sell it now. So you wait and want to justify once again and say, I'll wait for a bounce. And that's what it does. The next 3 or 4 days, it bounces back up. But at that time, once again, you start to overthink. You say, you know what? It doesn't look that bad. After all, if I take away this red block, it looks like we bottomed out. Look at that's a reversal right here at the very bottom. We open, go lower, and then close higher. That's a really nice, candlestick reversal pattern. So I don't think I want to short this. Overthinking is what kills your trading. Keep it simple. What is the indicator which is basically telling you what the market wants to do? It's telling you the market wants to go lower. Now we look for that pattern once again. This time we just reverse it. Now we look for the highs of the bar in the reddish block, okay? And we want to see a bar that closed above the high. And what do we have right here? See the high? And there we closed above it, so that's a sell signal. Now, nothing much happened the next 2 days, but then we all know what happened in March of 2020. Now, the S&P, even though the market fell 90 points in the spiders, that was comparable to 8,500 Dow points. So do you think this could have helped you? You see, you didn't miss anything. And then when you over-rationalize by saying, well, it's not that bad after all, it's going to bounce back up, I think I'll go long. The market's always been strong. This scenario really doesn't sound that serious, but the market was telling you in advance that it was. So you see, using this simple technique, even though it's not guaranteed, it's not going to work 100% of the time, it's a high probability setup so that you won't feel as if you're missing a lot of these big movers. Now, if you missed that one, look at all the other signals that were generated later on as the spiders fell lower. Okay, so now that you know how the simple technique works, how we get our thinking out of the way, because our thinking really is what sabotages us. If you ever think about it, if you ever think about your thinking, it's usually negative, right? It's always telling you that, no, this isn't going to work. Don't do that. Or, oh, it's gone up too high. You don't want to buy it here. It's always like a backseat driver. When you release that thinking and you just learn to listen to the market, that's when you become a more consistent trader. So let's look at how we can apply that for some more recent re-entry setups. All right, here's an example in Verizon, okay? As we can see in VRSN, we had a nice buy signal right here, and it's gone up, basically from 195 all the way up to 205. So it's gone up about 10 points. Normally, you'd say, well, gosh, it looks like it's rolling over. I don't want to get in now. But remember, we look for the lows, and we look for a bar that closed below the low, which is right here. See that? Just barely closed below. And it's still in the yellow buy block, so that's your buy setup. You could have taken advantage of that and purchased around 204. Stock went up 20 points. See how simple that is? Now, let me ask you something. Was I focusing on interest rates? Did I look at volume? Or how about, did I mention support and resistance or institutions? Did I say you had to go to a trading room to figure out how to do this? No, we teach you all these things for free. I mean, it's right here. If you have the tool, you can start using this right away. Trading is simple. It's the trader himself who makes it more harder than it has to be. Let's look at DXCM. Now, here we have our initial buy block around this bar on June 2nd, okay, a couple of weeks ago. Now, someone would say, how can I know to buy this? Well, that's how sensitive this tool is. Its only job is just to indicate to you when a market is about to take off. And look what happened. It took off. Stock basically went from 365 up to 415, okay? About 50 points. Once again, here comes the negative thoughts. I can't buy this now. This is up too high. It's not going to work anymore. I'm going to buy. The minute I buy, it's going to go down. Well, once again, that happens. It happens to me too, but it's a numbers game. Over time, we're looking for consistency. Now, we're looking for the lows of these bars and a close below the previous bar's low. And we don't find that until right here. Here's the low, and we close just below it. So that's our buy setup. Look what happened in the next 2 days. 20 points you still could have taken advantage of. That's a quick 20 points in 2 days. How about this example in MU, okay, Micron Technology. Once again, all we need is just a couple of bars, and we have a red sell block painted around. You say to yourself, well, I don't know if I'll take this. It doesn't really seem like it's going to go down. And you're right, it doesn't. But at this point, you say, see, I was right. It didn't go down, so why should I get involved in this? It's probably stronger than it looks. Well, what do we have here? We take the high of the first bar, and we see that we closed above it, and we're all in the red sell block. So that is a sell setup. So even though we didn't really miss anything, in other words, MU didn't go straight down and then we're too late to get back in. No, just after 2 days, we could have still gotten in. Stock fell 12 points. And even if you missed that, look what happened here. Same thing, another sell where you could have taken advantage of this quick drop in a couple of days. And even after that, 2 more sell setups. All right, let's look at Lulu, okay? Now, nothing happened here. In fact, this is where most traders would say, well, gosh, Steve, I bought here and it went straight down the next 2 days. So I exited, figuring I don't want to take a big loss here. But in all actuality, this is a buy setup because look at the low. You have the low here. It didn't close below, but the low here and it closed below. So where you most likely sold, a short-term buy setup was being generated. And look, 24 points in the next week. This is why most traders fail. You overthink things, you scare yourself, you get out a little bit too quickly. This is a good way to re-enter into if you have sold too early. Here's an example of DLTR, Dollar Tree. Now, the initial sell signal is right here, and it's gone down, but it hasn't gone down a lot. Enough for you to say to yourself, well, this is probably not going to do anything. It's probably hitting some type of support here. But what do we have? We have the high of this bar, and then we have a close above it. So this is a sell signal and a quick 12 points to the downside. Now, obviously, there was some news or something happened for that to gap down, right? But once again, as we always say, it wasn't as if the CEO of the company called us up a day in advance and say, hey, why don't you tell all your students to sell because we're going to have some really bad news come out on the 27th. So why don't you sell everything on the 26th? No one, we don't rely or look at fundamental news. I stopped looking at that 4 decades ago. So how do our signals know how to generate? Because they're based on market behavior. And market behavior, it's been my experience, it usually precedes any news event. Here's a look at Adobe, all right? This just happened on the 4th of June, a couple of weeks ago. We have our initial buy block around this bar. Now, if you wanted to take this and say, I'm going to buy at the close of the day, you could have. That would have been a nice trade because look at how well it performed. But let's say you didn't take advantage of that. You felt it was too pricey. You felt the market was too negative, and then you kick yourself. Well, it may not be too late because look what we have here. We take all the lows, and we have a low here, and we close just below it. And we're still in the yellow buy block. So your choice, you could have purchased right here about 544 and 27 points in 2 days that you could have worked with. Now you could have taken a 10-point gain, a 20-point gain. It's up to you. But we teach you different exit points in the class. All right, here's another example of it seems as if it's going nowhere. A buy signal was generated. It's supposed to be an extreme trend, and nothing's happened. Basically, we're going sideways. Once again, most traders would say, hey, this isn't working. Why did I waste my money with this? I'm going to exit and ask for a refund, right? This doesn't work. I want to exchange it for something. Well, this is why traders fail, because you don't give it enough time. You overthink. You think something to the worst possible means that this is not going to work. It's taken too long. I'm staying in here. I'm tying up my money. But in all actuality, what do we have here? We have a buy setup right here, followed by another one right here. So where you thought nothing is happening, this technique generated 2 buy setups within the yellow buy block. 28 points coming into this past week, okay? If you missed that, I believe there was another one right here. Let's look at TTWO, Take Two Interactive. Once again, the kind of the same scenario. If you would have sold on the first block, you would be in this for about a week and said, hey, nothing's happening. Why am I in this? It's probably going to go straight up. That chat room I went to said this stock's really basing. There's a lot of institutions buying, so I've got to buy it, right? Why am I short? I feel silly. Well, this is how you overthink things. What is the market telling you? Well, the first thing it's telling you is that it's saying that most likely the stock wants to go lower because there is a red block painted around it. And on top of that, we have a sell signal right here. Here's the high, and here's where it closed above. So you could have sold basically at 176, 15 quick points to the downside. And we always say, if the trend is strong enough, it always gives you another chance to get back in. For example, right here, you could have sold basically at 170 all the way down to 162. Here's an example in DocuSign, okay? Once again, if you miss this big buy right up here, you say to yourself, I can't buy it now. The stock here was trading at 195. Now it's all the way up to 240. Okay, I can't buy it 45 points higher. Well, maybe not, but maybe yes. Because here's that buy signal. Here's the low, and we closed just below it. Had you taken that, that's 38 points coming into this past week. And another one right here in case you missed that one. Now, Netflix in April coming into May looked as if nothing was happening, just basically going sideways. If you had sold on the very first of these bars, you would have said to yourself, gosh, I got a lot of money tied up. I think I'm just going to get out because it looks like I'm going to lose money. Look, we have 1, 2, 3 close-up days. That guy in that trading room I go to loves Netflix, says there's going to be some new news about it coming out that's very positive. I better get out, all right? All of my justification for overthinking was based on either someone or something else telling me what to do. Why not just base my decision off what the market's telling me what it wants to do? All right? If we do that, we see that we have a sell signal right here, followed by another one. Now, even though nothing has happened in the past week, ultimately, Netflix fell 35 points. Once again, if you missed that, gave you another chance here and here to go short. Lastly, let's look at Intuit. Okay, once again, in May, we had a really nice buy signal here. Now, the day before it was trading around 418. Now it's all the way up to 435. You say to yourself, gosh, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable buying it up here. And it went up even higher. So now you say to yourself, I don't want to buy. It's gone up way too high. Okay, but look what happened on the very next bar. Now at this point, most traders would not say, hey, it's giving me a second chance to get in. Most traders would say, hey, I knew this wasn't going to work out. I knew this wasn't a good indicator that I purchased. I knew this wasn't going to work. So I'm glad I didn't take the trade. When in all actuality, your overthinking is what's keeping you from becoming a successful trader, because right here, you had the low and you closed below that low on the very next bar. Remember, it has to be on the very next bar. So that was a buy setup. So where most traders would have said, I knew this wasn't going to work, you basically gave away 45 points in just 2 weeks. Okay? Remember, overthinking is what kills your trading. Let's look at some other time frames and some other markets, because this technique can virtually work on any market, any time frame. Makes no difference. Here's an example in the 10-minute chart of the E-mini futures. Okay, here's a 10-minute chart, and this was going back to Monday. We had a really nice run up here, and we didn't have any closes below. It really was just about the same as the low, and so was this one, but we didn't have a close below until right here. So on June 21st, you could have purchased here and in roughly about an hour made 17 points. That's $850 per contract. Now, we know that a lot of students are saying, well, that means I would have had to buy right there at the low and sell right at the high, Steve. Okay, let's say you didn't make 17 points. Let's say you only made 10 points. Okay, that's still $500 in a hour or less. Okay, let's say you only made 5 points. Well, in about 15 minutes, you could have potentially made $250, and that's per one contract. What if you had 10? Okay. Here's an example in the British pound, a 4-hour chart. This is going back to last week, I believe a week ago in the British pound. A sell signal was generated, and the very next bar, it went up. This is where most traders say, oh, I'm so glad I didn't take that trade. I knew it wasn't going to work. Or they say, hey, I went short and it went straight back up the next day. I'm going to get out. I'm going to take a small loss here. Well, in all actuality, it was generating a sell signal. This is the technique we taught you. We just closed above the previous bar's high. And look what happened after that. 210 pips. That's basically $2,000 per unit if you stayed in the entire time. If you only wanted to take 100 pips, well, that's $1,000. Let's say you wanted to take a profit of 50 pips. Well, that's $500. We're not saying that you would have made 210 pips, but that's how much you had to work for. And then there was another sell just generated this past week. Now, remember when Bitcoin was going straight up at the beginning of June, okay? Well, here is an hourly chart of Bitcoin, okay? Now, I know Bitcoin's been going lower, but let's just see how it was happening when it was going up. The same process applies. Makes no difference what market we're trading, okay? As we can see here, there was a buy signal generated here, another one here, all the way up, where potentially you could have captured over 3,400 points just trading this simple method on an hourly chart, okay? So do you see the power behind this? Do you see the power behind applying the PTS XT as well as the power behind using this simple technique to get back in? All right, let's review the trading process once again. Number one, plot the PTS XT Extreme Trend indicator on your chart, whatever chart you're trading. If you're an intraday trader, trading the intraday E-minis or currency pairs, plot it. If you're a weekly trader, you like to trade, swing trades, plot it on a weekly trade or a daily graph. Makes no difference what market, what time frame. Now, in a yellow buy block, buy the bar whose close is less than the previous bar's low. Okay? Buy the bar whose close is less than the previous bar's low. Has to be the previous bar. And conversely, in a red sell block, regardless of the market or time frame, sell the bar whose close is greater than or larger than the previous bar's high. That's it. Trading does not have to be complicated. You don't have to worry about, well, Steve, I can't buy that because the earnings are going to come out, and I have to wait for the estimate, and they say that may not exceed what it was last quarter. I mean, who cares about that? I stopped looking at that 4 decades ago. Or he says, Steve, that big announcement's going to come out, and I want to wait to see what it is. Well, you may miss this setup. There may not be another setup. As always, it's your decision. We're never going to tell any of our students how to trade. Our job as a mentor is simply to show you the way, is simply to present all these different variables for you to choose from and then let you decide what you feel the most comfortable with. That, in my 44 years of trading, is the only way one becomes a consistent trader. Not by going to a nightly trading room, not by listening to the economic indicators come out and waiting for them, not by subscribing to all these different newsletters or chat rooms or listening to the guys on TV. None of the traders that I know of that are still trading after 4 decades do any of those things. So if they're still successful, then why do you need that you have to do that? You really don't. Okay, so let's recap before we go into the question and answer portion. Remember, the PTS XT is an indicator designed to identify extreme trends in advance, okay? Its only job is to identify a big move. Therefore, it doesn't color all of the bars the way, let's say, the PET-D does or the buy-sell line. All it does is identify bars that are deemed to be at the beginning of an extreme trend. So sometimes this may happen a lot in a chart, or sometimes you may have to wait a while for this to happen. Now, it's based on multiple proprietary indicators and their relationship to one another. You see, most people use indicators and they say, okay, when this happens, this is a buy. When this happens, this is a sell. We use indicators in a different way. We like to see their interaction with each other and how they relate to one another. This is how we come up with our setups. And because it's so simple, it's the easiest and simplest tool to apply. We made it simple by applying this and by making it one click away on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting platform. I developed this with Pro Trader Strategies to make it simple. I don't want you to go into a platform and say, boy, I have no idea what's going on here. I have no idea what this means or this means. Once you begin to take a course, once you become a student of ours, you know exactly what to click on, what to click off, and in the course we explain to you how to apply these different techniques. Ask yourself, do you think this indicator can help your trading for the remainder of 2021? We're halfway through the year in just about another week. Are you going to wait this much longer for your success? Take advantage of this great offer I have for you today, okay? We're going to give you a great discount on what we've been talking about today, the PTS XT Extreme Trend tool. Trade with simplicity, trade with confidence, trade with consistency. This generates these high probability zones that you can apply to any market, any time frame. You can trade it with your current strategy. Let's say you have a strategy you feel comfortable with, but sometimes it generates these great signals, other times it generates these terrible ones. Well, maybe you only want to take the signals your strategy generates while it's in the yellow buy block or in the red sell block, okay? You can even build your own strategy. A lot of our students say, Steve, I built a strategy just based on these buy and sell blocks, and it really is working out well. This is what we want, and this is what we encourage in our students. We want you to find your own way. As your mentor, as your teacher, I am giving you these different variables so that you can find your own way. And ultimately, this gives you the confidence to pull the trigger. Now, we told you how simple it is to apply on our platform. This is really, everything is just one click away. So that's why we're going to give all new customers a full year free of the PTS Primo Charting platform. Now, the best thing about this offer is that not only are you going to get the PTS XT access, but you're going to get all these other features that I've accumulated in over 40 years, like our enhanced buy-sell line. This is 4 different ways to find out what the overall trend is. A strength of trend tool. This tells you so many times whether a trend is running out of steam or not, so you can know whether to stay in the trade longer or to stay in it. Auto-generated exit levels, okay? Many times students say, well, gosh, Steve, this is great. I just don't know where to get out. This is just one of our many different methods for exiting. With one click, you can see where those exits are. Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, along with personalized tech support. But here's the best thing about getting the full year of the PTS Primo Charting platform. The signal scanner, okay? You can scan for these nightly PTS XT signals so that you don't have to go through an entire list of 2,000 stocks a night and say, okay, which one has a yellow block, which one has a green or a red block. You can scan for those on a nightly basis in probably less than a minute or two. Let me show you how simple this is, okay? On the drop-down menu, remember once again where you were clicking on highlighted signal, instead of clicking that on, click on scan, and you'll see this page appear. This is our Extreme Trend scan page, all right? In the upper left-hand corner, you just want to click on Load Symbols. We provide you with symbol lists anywhere from the NASDAQ, the S&P, ETFs, Bitcoin, cross-currency pairs, ETFs, futures, any market you can think of, Asian markets, European markets, Canadian markets. Pick whatever one you want, and then once you have it, it'll appear here in the spreadsheet. Once you see your market that you've chosen, click on Scan. And in less than a minute, you'll see a series of green or red horizontal bars. All right, that just simply means the red ones mean they're sell signals. The green ones means those are buy signals, or I should say buy blocks or sell blocks. Okay. Now, if you had scanned last week, you would have come up and seen that Microsoft was in a yellow buy block. It generated a buy block on the 7th of June, a couple of weeks ago, when the stock was trading around 252, and it had gone all the way up to 260, about 8 points. So you say to yourself, well, most traders would say, I missed this, and I don't want to get in now. But remember, using the technique I just taught you, we look for the low of these bars, and here we have a low. And look what happened on the very next. This was on the 16th, which was a week ago today. You could have scanned for this, and that's a buy signal on the 16th of June. Had you purchased there, that's 10 points in 1 week coming into today, okay? Simple enough, right? How about this one? You could have scanned for TRV, travelers. And this generated a signal to sell a sell block on the 9th. Now, nothing much really happened, just basically going sideways. You could have said to yourself, well, you know, I'm glad I didn't get into this one because it hasn't really done anything yet. But if you applied the technique we taught you today, you look for the highs. Here's a high that was generated on the 14th. And on the 15th, a week from yesterday, we closed just above it. So that was a sell signal on the 15th. TRV fell yesterday, coming in to yesterday 10 points. Another 10 points, okay? So you see how simple this is. There's no overthinking in any of this. Now, if you happen to miss that, guess what happened a couple of days ago? Here we have a high. And on the 21st, which was Monday, there was another sell signal. So you may want to watch that. Now, in no way are we telling you to go short TRV, but you may want to watch that to see how well that setup works. Remember, this will give you the confidence to pull the trigger. It offers you simplicity in trading. So take advantage of this. Here's the great offer we have for you now. Let's break it down. Normally, if you just purchase the PTS XT outright, it would cost you close to $5,000. That's how popular and that's how powerful this tool is. But we're going to give you a great discount today. We're going to offer the PTS XT for a one-time fee of $497, less than $500, and then all you have to do is have a monthly payment of $97 a month. That's it. So for less than $500, you can be up and running today. And you can get that full year of the PTS, the PTS Primo Charting platform. And you can learn how to trade with simplicity and with confidence. Now, a lot of our students say, listen, Steve, I love this already. I don't need to make a monthly payment. How much do I have to pay if I just want to buy it outright? Do I still have to pay $49.95? No, we'll take off 10%, $44.95. You're still going to save $500, okay, if you want to buy it outright. This is a great offer, but I can't think of a better way to take your trading to the next level, less than $500. Now, I'm not saying you would have made $500, but look at those two examples I just showed you from last week. Each one would have made 10 points in roughly a week or less, okay? And those things are generating all the time. So if you feel uncomfortable, there's a lot of ways in which to take advantage of the PTS XT. New customers, remember, don't forget, new customers, we're going to get 1 full year free of the platform that comes with so many other things included in that. Not just the PTS XT, but so many other things that I've accumulated in my 44 years of trading. So as we conclude here, please take your trading to the next level with the PTS XT Extreme Trend Indicator. We're halfway through 2021. I can almost guarantee you that you're not seeing the type of results you promised yourself at the beginning of the year. Take advantage of this great offer before it goes back up to nearly $5,000, okay? Take advantage of this less than $500 and just a monthly payment plan of $97 a month. And on top of that, a full year of the platform, okay? Okay, here's the information you need to know. Contact my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. I developed the platform and all of my strategies with them. They're in charge of all the pricing and the discount. So I would suggest calling them directly at area code 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants on the phone right now. They'd be happy to take your order. Or if you have questions concerning price or whatever tech support, they would be more than happy to answer that with no obligation at all. So they're not trying to sell you anything and that you have to feel uncomfortable calling, okay? They're there to work for you. They're very flexible. Now that link you see at the very bottom is the information page. So if you'd like to get more information on the technique and also on the indicator, you can copy and paste that. Now we've posted a live link though, so you don't have to copy and paste that. That's on the chat box on the far right. So I'm going to leave this information up here for you so you can copy down or call. Once again, I would highly recommend calling Pro Trader Strategies. There's absolutely no obligation. If you have a question concerning anything that I went over today, anything that I taught, or anything that I shared with you today, please do not hesitate. Go to your question and answer box and type it in. I promise I'll answer it to the best of my ability, okay? Okay, someone's asking, can this be applied to commodities? Yes, in fact, it's so funny. I was going to get a commodity example in this. I know that a lot of the corn and wheat has been trending strongly this past year, so I wanted to show you how you could apply it to that. But unfortunately, I didn't have enough time when I was putting this presentation together. I thought it was more important to give you a Bitcoin example. But yes, it makes no difference. Remember, whatever market, whatever time frame. Or someone else is asking, can this work on the Asian markets? Yes, it makes no difference. Wherever there is a trend, that's what the PTS XT is designed to do. The PTS XT doesn't know what the market is or what the time frame is. You see, it doesn't take that into consideration in the inner workings of the indicator. So it's not saying, well, okay, this is a currency pair, so I just can't do this. No, it doesn't know. It just looks for the relationship with all these proprietary indicators, and that's how it comes up with its answer, okay? So yes, regardless of what market or time frame, it can be applied to other indices, it can be applied to other markets, makes no difference, okay? Question, does the scanner show nightly or will new data symbols potential show up live during the day? Yes, you can actually intraday scan. That's a good question. So let's say you're an intraday trader. Okay, let's say you're trading, hourly charts. Okay, every hour you would do another scan, and it would tell you, okay, where there are new, or it would update what the green bars are for the yellow buy blocks and what the red bars are for the yellow buy blocks. So yellow sell blocks. So you can do an intraday scan too. The only thing I would recommend is to stay away from the really small time frames. I've tried this myself, and let's say you're looking at a 5-minute time frame because of that, with any method, with any technique or strategy, there's a lot more noise the smaller the time frame. So you can get a lot of this whipsaw back and forth. I would say if you're seeing a really strong trend, the way we've seen sometimes when the market falls out of bed. For example, last week the market really had a strong down day. So what you could do during that time frame, once you see the market really falling out of bed, that's when I would do the scan and then look for these intraday, red sell blocks or yellow buy blocks, and then apply this technique. That's where it really works well. So you don't have to get in at the beginning. As I showed you on that 10-minute chart of the E-mini futures, you still could have made a good 17 points by getting in after it had already gone up a good 10 or 15 points. So that's what I would suggest, using this technique perfectly for intraday trading, okay? Here's my most popular question. What do you mean by educational correspondence? Educational correspondence simply means that you get my personal email address. So I would love to, trust me, I would love to be there sitting next to you and showing you exactly how to apply this and seeing if you're doing it correctly or not. Unfortunately, we have, as we said, tens of thousands of students around the world. There's no way I can be next to everyone. So you all get my personal email address. You can contact me whenever you'd like. And we tell students, don't wait. The minute you get a question, send it to me. It could be on the weekend, it could be in the middle of the night, and I'll answer it as quickly as possible, okay? We answered a student's question today in about 5 minutes, just before this presentation. So if I'm free for a second, I will answer it as quickly as possible. And remember, these educational correspondence, it doesn't go to a room of interns that are answering the question. They go directly to me. It's my personal email address. So that's what we mean by educational correspondence. It's like having your own personal mentor right there. And that comes included with this course, okay? Okay, good questions. Any more? If there are no more questions, I really hope you learned something today. Remember, we're different from other presentations in the fact that we are first and foremost an educational company. We're trying to teach you something. So I hope you learned a little bit using this technique today, that it really works well. But remember, it will only work and get the type of results you want by applying it with the PTS XT. I know a lot of you will say, well, Steve, what do I need this for? I just need the technique. I can see if there's a real strong uptrend. Well, sure, but trust me, we've had students try to do that before and they lose a lot of money. So you'll only get the results that we're talking about when you apply the PTS XT. So come aboard, take advantage of this. $500. I can almost guarantee you that a lot of you have already lost more than $500 this month trying to trade, right? So many other so-called educators, more like vendors around the internet, trying to sell you a master system for $5,000, $10,000. For less than $500, you can be up and running as early as today and get a full year free of the platform. That's a close to $1,200 value right there. So take advantage of this. I would strongly recommend calling Pro Trader Strategies at 310-598-6677. They'll be happy to work with you. There's no obligation. You can ask them any question concerning pricing or tech support. Now, as we close here and take one last look at our disclaimer, as we have our Twitter there, I'm sorry, I put that in just in case you wanted to follow us on Twitter one last time. But as we take a look at our disclaimer, which should be the next slide, there it is. I just want to thank you in closing for joining me today. I hope you got a little bit of education out of this. But more importantly, I just really hope that you become a student of mine in the PTS XT course and take advantage of this great, great offer. Because remember, most likely in a week or two, it'll go back to that $5,000 level. Thank you so much for attending, taking time out of your Wednesday. I wish you all a great day and look forward to seeing you in class. Bye-bye.